Hello, I am very glad that you decided to review this presentation. It is my hope for every participant that something in this presentation helps a teacher, an administrator, a student, or another individual to leverage technology to support student learning. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Lisa Goldie. I currently work as the superintendent of schools in the Tinton Falls School District. I am a recent graduate from the University of South Carolina's doctoral program in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in educational technology. It is my pleasure to be here with you today, although in an asynchronous format. The objectives of this session include the following. The learner will identify why technology integration and collaboration are important in the elementary classroom, will recognize the barriers that impact successful technology integration in an elementary classroom, and will examine recommendations for the removal of barriers to impact successful technology integration in the elementary classroom. This presentation is based on my recent completed dissertation. When selecting a problem to study, the following understanding was the background for the study. The belief that students should use technology to collaborate was very important. Collaboration is a 21st century skill that is supported by professional organizations, national, as well as state standards. The use of technology is a perfect platform to support collaboration. Too often we see students working in isolation on technology devices. Technology should leverage students' abilities to work together. For over the past 20 years, research has been conducted on ways to integrate technology in the classroom. Although technology access has become readily available in classrooms across the country, many barriers are still seen by classroom teachers and students. A study completed in 1999 by Peggy Ertmer focused on these barriers while classifying them into first and second order barriers. By identifying and finding ways to eliminate these barriers, the benefit of technology integration can blossom. An example of a first order barriers are external to the instructor. For example, support, training, and time. Second order barriers lie in beliefs and their perceptions. According to several research studies, second-order barriers are more difficult to eliminate as opposed to first-order barriers. The problem statement that directed this study is as follows. Investigate how teachers use Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals, formerly G Suite for Education, for student collaboration during the COVID-19 pandemic. The goal was to make recommendations for technology integration in grades 3 through 5 in a school in central New Jersey. The study aimed to answer the following research questions. One research question, how do elementary teachers perceive first and second order barriers to integrate Google Workspace for Integration Fundamentals for the purpose of student collaboration in a gapped hybrid learning environment? Another research question, what are elementary teachers' perceptions about the integration of Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals for the purpose of student collaboration in their classroom lessons in a gapped hybrid learning environment? Let me start with a brief overview of the study. Within the remainder of this presentation, I will go into greater detail. This study was an action research study following the outline for action research by Buss and Zambo. This study followed a mixed method design using both quantitative and qualitative data and analysis. The data collected in this study was completed during the fall of 2020. The design of the study took place prior to the COVID pandemic. However, the findings were completed during the height of the pandemic when teachers were instructed in a gapped hybrid model, with half of their students participating in in-person instruction and half participating remotely. The restrictions were based on recommendations received from the New Jersey Department of Education to abide by restrictions for social distancing. The study focused on students in grades 3 to 5, the elementary age student. There was a gap in the research in this area related to online learning and collaboration. Data analysis used both quantitative measures focusing on descriptive statistics and qualitative analysis using inductive analysis. Critical to my study includes the operational definitions and understanding of terms. First, the terms barriers included both first and second order barriers identified by Ertmer in the 1999 study. This study has been cited in many subsequent studies. First order barriers are that are extrinsic to teachers, such as time, access, and support. Second order barriers are based on perceptions and beliefs of the classroom teacher. The environment in this study is a gapped hybrid environment. This environment, already explained, is a model that splits in-person students into 2 in-person sessions and 3 remote sessions with a gapped scenario. The example of students are grouped in one group and they attend school in person on Monday and Tuesday, and on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they attend remotely. Google Workspace for Educational Fundamentals, which has been previously named G Suite for Education, is a suite of easy-to-use tools for learning. These communication and collaboration tools include Google Classroom, Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Meet, to name a few. This free suite is provided to educational institutions. The definition of student collaboration is a widely used term. For this study, Burns' definition of collaboration using technology included remote collaboration, role-based collaboration, and shared screen collaboration. Students work together by participating in experiences where they are asked to speak, listen, and apply their own learning. Another broad term is technology integration. This study uses a definition found in Hugh and Brush in 2007 and Hsu's 2016 research. It looks at the use of hardware, scanners, interactive whiteboards, document cameras, and handheld devices that are used in the classroom to enhance learning. The research was built on a theoretical framework of the constructivist learning theory and social constructivism. These theories subscribe to an understanding that learning occurs from an individual or social group while constructing their own learning. Constructivists believe learning is a process of making meaning through a sense of experiences. Learning is active and negotiates their understanding from experience in a new learning situation. The main theorists that are cited with this approach are John Dewey, Jerome Bruner, and Jean Piaget. Although similar, social constructivism indicates that knowledge is constructed in the social context. Knowledge is internalized through an understanding of social experiences that have impacted student learning. Social constructivists view knowledge construction as the intersection of people's interactions that involve sharing and comparing among learners. Vygotsky's work influenced this learning theory. Both of these theories acknowledge the uniqueness and complexity of each learner. Right now, I would like for you to take a minute to reflect on your own beliefs. What do you believe are the benefits of technology integration? Write it down and see how your beliefs are confirmed or expanded. There are several documented benefits to technology integration. Several studies have identified a benefit of student achievement. Technology integration has been suggested to close the gap between students who are struggling and their grade level peers to provide for more ways that teachers can differentiate their instruction. Technology can function as a diagnostic tool, allowing for teachers to monitor and closely target students' areas of strengths and weaknesses. Furthermore, technology integration can improve students' academic achievement because students are more engaged and more motivated. Although the benefits are vast, simply introducing technology in the classroom does not predict success for all. Although there are studies where technology use is successful, there are some studies in which there are limited gains. This is dependent on the quality of the implementation of the technology into the schools. Factors such as how technology is used and the quality of technology can create different impacts for technology integration in the classroom. Barriers to technology integration continue to be studied. The most common barrier include a lack of access to computers, technology accessibility and reliability, time to plan and deliver their instruction, inadequate technical and administrative support, teacher training, and beliefs about teaching and learning. On the slide, you will see how they are classified into first or second order barriers. Take a minute here to reflect on your own beliefs again. Why should students collaborate? What makes this so important? Students should collaborate in order to have an understanding of what they're learning. First of all, student collaboration has a basis in national and state standards. Students can practice several different types of skills, especially in listening and speaking standards. In a review of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, Computer Science and Design Thinking for 2020, this is part of the vision statement. The vision statement is a foundation for this content area and includes collaboration. Also, collaboration as a 21st century theme and is a skill that must be embedded in all content areas. Collaboration allows for different individuals to come together to work towards one common goal. This helps each individual learner to not only practice their speaking and listening skills, but also to improve their higher level thinking skills and their leadership skills. Effective collaborative opportunities require students to participate in well-defined groups and abide by rules while guiding interaction and accepting guidance for a completion of tasks. It is the more heads together mentality that is seen in many workplaces across the world. According to Burns, taken from her book, Task Before Apps, there are 3 types of digital collaboration. Remote collaboration, where students use individual devices to connect to one another. They can use a learning management system such as Google Classroom or Google Tools to work on one project. Role-based collaboration allows students to take on different roles to work together. Although this is a form of digital collaboration, it looks more like the traditional cooperative learning roles seen in classrooms from all the way back in the 1990s. Shared screen collaboration requires pairs or small groups of students to work on a single device to complete a task or a project. This research was guided by a convergent parallel mixed methods design. It was conducted in an elementary school in grades 3 through 5 in central New Jersey. There were 19 participants who completed a survey. These participants were grades 3 through 5 teachers. The only requirement to participate in the study was that the staff member had to be a certified teacher, currently teaching a class, and had at least 1 year of teaching. From the survey, the participants were asked if they wanted to participate in a semi-structured interview to gain an additional understanding, focusing on the research questions. 8 teachers chose to participate in this part of the study, and this was from the original 19 who completed the survey. The data collection methods include the use of 3 published surveys with strong reliability. The 3 surveys made one survey entitled the Teacher Perception Survey. 4 open-ended questions were added as well. A semi-structured interview was conducted based on 20 questions regarding teachers' perceptions to the barriers to help further understanding of the thoughts of each individual teacher related to the barriers in technology integration. Lesson plans for the month of November were analyzed for the use of technology in the classroom for the purpose of student collaboration. This study was also included rigor and trustworthiness, triangulation, thick, rich descriptions, member checking, peer debriefing, and included an audit trail. This brought a sense of reliability to the study. Descriptive statistics, the mean and standard deviation, were used to analyze the survey results. Each survey had individual subscales that were analyzed. Subscales focused on questions that were organized into categories that are traditional barriers found in previous studies. The TTQ, or the Teacher Technology Questionnaire, yielded results that indicated that participants were neutral on the barriers, with the responses more towards higher than neutral average. The Technology Integration Survey indicated that teachers agreed with the technology-built vision, but felt that time was a barrier on the ability to integrate technology successfully in the classroom. Finally, the subscales in the Perception towards ICTs and the Teaching and Learning Process Scale Survey indicated a stronger than neutral agreement on teachers' attitudes and beliefs. The interview questions and the open-ended questions were analyzed using inductive analysis through the use of first and second round coding. This was applied using in vivo coding, descriptive coding, as well as pattern coding. There were 72 codes applied to the answers from the open-ended questions and 118 codes from the answers of the interview questions. From the codes, categories were created. From these categories, 3 major themes emerged. Assertions from each theme was made part of the research. We are at another point for you to take some time to self-reflect. What barriers do you believe exist in your context? It is important to identify these barriers in order to eliminate anything that is impacting the use of technology for the purpose of student collaboration. Based on the data that was shared thus far, briefly write down any barriers that you believe were discovered in this study. What were the lessons learned? Recommendations will be made for the barriers that were prevalent in this study and the research completed in further slides. After all the quantitative and qualitative analysis was completed, it was discovered that there were 6 barriers identified: teacher training, time, pedagogy, the reliability of the technology, student engagement, and the lack of student technology skills. Recommendations to overcome these first-order barriers will be made later on in the presentation. One thing that was discovered was that teachers shared a positive perception of collaboration in the areas of socialization and student learning. Teachers indicated that the use of technology created an environment to allow students who had become more isolated as a result of the pandemic. They were able to talk to one another and share their learning with each other. They thought this was an important benefit for these grade 3 to 5 students. Students learned from one another. Also, another finding indicated that there was a clear technology vision. There was support for the teacher in both administrative and technical support. Teachers also recognized their individual growth throughout this time period. They recorded an increased ability to use the technology and felt more comfortable using Google with their students, especially for collaborative purposes. Time was a barrier that was emphasized through the surveys, open-ended questions, and the interviews. Professional development was identified as a barrier. Recommendations to overcome this barrier focused on different types of instruction to be provided to the teacher. This response agrees with the previous research conducted. The type of professional development focuses on how to use the technology, but also ways to teach with technology in the classroom. A few ways in order to provide this targeted professional development include workshops, on-site courses, the use of instructional coaches for job-embedded professional development, as well as summer intensive learning. PLCs can be used to focus on technology integration and collaboration as well. Time is a continued barrier. There is never enough time to complete the planning and in order to use technology. Although this study was completed in an elementary school, there were still classroom periods that restricted the subject matter being taught to a specific period of time. Some recommendations include scheduling additional planning time, providing larger blocks of time for an authentic and collaborative projects, all for staff to have time to learn from their colleagues and create a bank of successful lesson plans in order to eliminate the time barrier from the planning aspect. Pedagogical implications include using a pedagogical format for technology integration. A specific research-based format was not used in the classroom's study. Previous research has been conducted on technology integration models. One model to invest time is the TPAC model. The TPAC model requires teachers to plan lessons by asking, what are the standards? What type of instruction is most effective to teach the standards? And what technology can be layered on top? Learning how to use the TPAC model in order to teach within the classroom is important in order for teachers to feel comfortable teaching their content as well as integrating technology. Technical quality and instructional quality are interdependent. A barrier identified in this study was that the technology was glitchy and did not consistently work. Students and staff had difficulty accessing Wi-Fi at different points in the day. They were unable to problem solve their individual technical issues. Although technical support was not a barrier, it's always important for teachers to have the understanding of how to get help when they need it. Developing engaging lessons. The use of the pedagogical model, the TPAC model, could address this as well. You should be cultivating and creating active learning opportunities while using technology in the classroom. Elementary students demonstrated a lack of understanding of how to use the technology. It is important that teachers explicitly teach students how to use technology tools and to allow for students to explore these tools. Again, this does impact the amount of time that a teacher has to integrate technology, but with a lack of skills, students will spend more time off task and become more frustrated. This study did have some limitations. There was a small sample size, and it was an action research study where it's difficult to generalize to a larger population. Responses may have been skewed due to the fact that the researcher's position existed as their supervisor. The timing of the study was done during a pandemic year when levels of stress were high by students and staff, and everyone was learning how to interact in a different format. These are just a few of the study limitations that existed within this dissertation. In closing, it's important to find meaningful uses of technology in the classroom. This is essential for student learning. Educators must continue to find ways to leverage technology in their classroom. In order to do this successfully, barriers must be eliminated and assessments made on the progress. Always capitalizing and building from these positives are important, such as the positives that were found in this study in student socialization and student learning, as well as the abilities for teachers to learn how to use the technology in their classroom. Thank you for spending the time listening to the research that was conducted as part of my dissertation study. It is important that we recognize the conditions that exist within our own environments that prohibit us from attaining meaningful collaboration and technology integration within our classrooms and schools. It is my hope that one idea was sparked and that I helped you to reach the objectives that were set forth in this presentation. On the following slides, you will see references that were used in this dissertation. These are just a few of the many references that were cited in this presentation. Please feel free to scroll through these references in order to see the research that was used and some additional research that you may want to study yourself in this very interesting field.